And he said, well, they drew a swastika on our door. And we're Jews. It didn't mean, and I didn't know what it was. And I said, well, what kind of a swastika? How? Oh, he said it was chalk. So I said, well, don't fuss about it. You can wipe it off. It would be worse if it was paint.
I see.
And another thing that happened in school was another change in the curriculum, that we were taught racism.
Yes.
Or racial science, or whatever you want to call it. And we were taught about the superior German race and about all the other people who are inferior, and about the Jews being an inferior race. And they were sitting right there saying nothing. And the teacher picked people from the class as examples. In my generation, when a teacher said something, you thought it was true. And I really believed that, the other people weren't as good.
I see.
And then one day, a girl raised her hand in school and said, my parents don't want me to sit next to a Jewish girl. We had these double benches. And so the teacher said, okay, and said to the girl, go sit next to Gisela. And the girl came and sat next to me.
The Jewish girl?
Yeah, and she was a friend of mine. But I didn't like the idea of there's somebody inferior that somebody isn't wanting to sit with, and they make that person sit with me. That didn't suit me at all. So I got up and I said, I don't want to sit with her either. I mean, who am I, after all? So the teacher says, well, we can't go on like this from now on. If your parents object to anybody you sit with, you please bring a letter from home, and we'll take care of it then. So I went home with great excitement, and I said to my father, I want you to write a letter that I'm not to sit next to Hannah Littman. I even remember her name. And my father said, well, why? You play with her every afternoon. What's going on? And I said, well, she's Jewish. And my father said, so what? And I said, well, nobody else wants to sit with her, and some other people in class don't sit, their parents don't want them to sit with Jewish girls, and I don't see why I should be the one that they're put next to. So my parents turned pale. But he said, your grandparents were Jewish. I nearly fell under the table. And he said, according to the Nazis, that makes you a non-Aryan, that makes you a Jew. And so you have no right to go and say that you don't want to sit with Hannah, because the next thing is if the others find out, they won't want to sit with you. So I said, my goodness, what am I going to do now? That was the only thing I could think of. I mean, nothing else affected me. I just said, what am I going to do? How am I going to go back to school? What am I going to say? And my father said, you say nothing. But he said, it's very possible that in the next election people will vote differently, the Nazis will be out again, and the whole thing will be forgotten. So there is no sense in making a big deal and having everybody in town know about it.
Now don't you worry about the country. Don't worry about the South. Don't worry about the USA. Eat your barbecue. Shut your mouth. At a diner in Tennessee, he did not leave a tip. Just a business card on the napkin says you've been honored to serve the Grand Wizard. Now, the reason we're white today is just because of segregation. The pure white race is gonna save the nation. And now it's time. We keep the KKK in line. Now the night they lynched old Sonny Brown, his neck snapped like a twig. Could have been the cops or the KKK. In this town, it's the same damn thing. Take off these blues, put on these whites. We're gonna wait for the cover of the night. And now it's time. We keep the police in line. Travel all around the world, wherever you go. Mention a little southern town called Greensboro. Nobody knows the smiling faces, they only know the shame brought on that town by the FBI and the KKK. I think it's time we keep the FBI in line. Griffin hanging off a cliffin', only that you could save him. Now will he take that outstretched hand, or will he stay a pure white southern man? And if the black man came and stomped on Virgil's hands, I'm telling you right now, I would not give a damn. It's time we keep racists in line. So I chopped off the Grand Wizard's head, mashed out all his brains, left his stinking carcass on a burning cross. It's a barbecue from us to the KKK. It's a barbecue from us to the KKK. Don't worry about the country. Don't worry about the South. Don't worry about the USA. Just eat your barbecue and shut your mouth.